Hello, Spiceheads. It's Emily with Spiceworks. Thanks for tuning in today and joining us on another Spiceworks Partner webinar, The Secret Sauce of IT, the certs that can boost any career, brought to you by StormWind. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone this webinar is being recorded. If you have to step away for any reason, you will get an email with a link to the video in about a week. Also, there's a Q&A box on your screen to the left. I encourage you to submit your questions at any time during the presentation. We'll get to those questions at the end via verbal Q&A, but if your question isn't addressed live, someone will be able to follow up with you. As usual, we also have a live chat, so join in by clicking the brown widget at the bottom of your screen. Now let's get started. Our presenter today is Miss Ashley Hunt, Senior Project Management Instructor with StormWind Studios. So Ashley, whenever you're ready, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Emily, and hello, Spiceworks. It's so good to be here today, and thank you so much for joining us for this special webinar on project management certifications that can boost any career. So just to give you an idea about what we're going to go through here, I want to first talk about common misconceptions about project managers. And I've been a project manager for over 10 years, so I know what they all are, and I wanted to address them first so that I could kind of flip the script here and talk about why project management is good for not only for business, but for you out there who are maybe interested in getting certified in project management or even just learning best practices. It doesn't necessarily have to result in a certification, but hey, those are good for our jobs as well. So I'll talk about CompTIA, Project Plus, which is more geared toward IT project management, and then we'll go into the PMP certification. So as we go through this, I just kind of want you to know that these common misconceptions about project management are absolutely floating out there, that being a project manager is easy. Like, what do? I'm a project manager. Well, what does that mean? I manage projects. Well, okay, it's not actually an easy job because we have to know a lot about a lot of different things and be able to facilitate projects, whether they're IT or not, communicate with people, manage the schedules, and so on. But project management is different in a life cycle than the IT life cycle. They're not actually exactly the same, and it really doesn't matter what type of project management philosophies you subscribe to. Maybe some of you are XP, extreme programming. Maybe some of you are agile, lean. It just depends on your organization what your IT life cycle looks like. But project management has to be able to manage whatever that life cycle is in a cohesive way. A lot of organizations or folks feel like, hey, you're just unnecessary overhead. We don't need you. We've got this under control. Unnecessary overhead, I'm going to address that with just a couple statistics just to prove the opposite of that. That maybe we're only experts in producing documents. Yes, project management can be very document heavy, and sometimes it feels a little bit like overkill, but the best thing about being a project manager is being able to pick and choose what's going to work for your project. Process is more important than people, not at all. Project managers spend about 90% of our time communicating, motivating, and managing our teams in order to make sure that they're as successful as possible. Spending time planning is a waste of time. Well, like I mentioned with maybe Agile or XP or Lean or even PMP, we have to plan things in a progressively elaborated manner, meaning we have to go with what we know today. Whether we plan out an entire project from beginning to end, or we're just planning out a sprint and we're only looking 2 weeks into the future, planning allows us to be able to execute efficiently. Well, maybe they aren't complete and total experts in IT, but I have met thousands of project managers that started out in IT and then progressed, got their certifications, and are managing IT projects around the world. And so maybe not an expert in every single IT field, but the bottom line is we would have to know something about IT in order to manage the project. And that's why we're doing this webinar today, to kind of reach out to the IT community and say, project management is good for business, even if it's just looking for best practices, and certainly getting certified, that's good for your wallet as well. But why project management is good for business is that it's a core competency. We're looking at things like scope of work, risk, procurement or contracts, scope, time, cost, people, communications, quality. And so it's a core competency that allows us to facilitate projects and decrease failed projects by 31%. Now, it might not sound like a huge number, but if you're attaching millions of dollars to that, you can see that not only our business is saving money by having people that are masters at project management, but 30% of projects are also under budget because of project managers in the IT industry. 21% improvement in productivity, and that has to do with good planning and good execution of the plan and good facilitation. A lot of projects finish behind schedule. I'm sure we've all been there, worked on a project, and we came in behind schedule, maybe because scope changed or something happened that was outside of our control. But if there's somebody that's managing that project effectively, then hopefully 19% of your projects will come in ahead of schedule, if not on. But check out the number as far as saving companies an average of $567,000 a year. What can you do with $567,000 a year? Hire more people, invest in better quality, getting the cutting edge technologies that you all need in order to execute your day-to-day work. So that's why project management is good for business. And as far as organizations in general, as far as being good for business, we also have to take a look at the numbers not lying. And as far as the numbers that are not lying, it has to do with, as far as organizations working with project managers and IT managers, it's definitely one of those things where if you start looking at the breakdown of the information, we have to start taking a look at things like how many jobs are out there for project managers. Project management is often overlooked in the IT world. And think to yourself, as I'm going through this, think to yourself, do I have a lot of project managers in my organization, or on my IT project, is it an IT manager rather than a project manager? Because 46% of organizations admit to not fully understanding the value of project management, even though if an organization gets behind that, that understanding can boost success rates of strategic initiatives by 16%. Now, that was actually based on a study done by the Project Management Institute, who I'll be talking about here in just a second, as far as PMP certification versus CompTIA Project Plus. But I don't want to spend the entire webinar pushing out statistics to you as far as why is project management good for your organization. Why is it good for you? And I think this is the crux of everything, is we all want to be proficient in our fields. We all want to feel like we're making enough money to take care of our families and maybe travel and do what we want to do in life while still enjoying our profession. Well, just so you know, the project management field has been just blowing up since the early 80s all the way through to the present, and it has not stopped. By 2020, they are projecting that 15.7 million new project management roles will be created globally, and that the industry is going to grow by $6.61 trillion. Well, what does that mean for you? Well, that's an expected 12% growth. That means promotion. That means maybe looking elsewhere later on in your career, and all of that is expected to happen by 2020. I mean, it's 2016, right, folks? I mean, it's almost 2017 if we're looking forward. So by 2020, that's a lot of positions that are going to be available for project managers. So how are you going to be taking advantage of a lot of these growth in your field and start thinking about how can I utilize my current skills? How can I utilize my current knowledge in IT to maybe shift that position a little bit better and be able to help facilitate projects and help make yourselves and your organization more successful? As far as project management is concerned, there are definitely different philosophies and different methodologies out there. You know, I mentioned Agile, and there's Scrum, and there's all sorts of XP, Extreme Programming, and there's all sorts of philosophies and methodologies out there. But all of those philosophies and methodologies go back to basic best practices. And the basic best practices evolve into different certifications that can help you not only come up with what the best practices are for your organization and for your project, you can take them and apply them day to day, but now you also have a piece of paper that proves that you know the best practices, that you know the terminologies, and so on. So one of the certifications out there that originally was designed for IT project managers, basically saying, we want you to have at least a high-level knowledge of all of the best practices that could be utilized on IT projects or any other projects out there as well. CompTIA Project Plus has been around for a while, but what's so cool about it is that not only is it designed for IT project managers, but it basically addresses essential business requirements. Like, what do our IT projects need? We need to make sure that we're fulfilling the requirements of an internal or external customer. We need to make sure that we're meeting the schedules and that we're meeting the budgets and that we're basically opening up our organization for new career opportunities, because we want your organizations to bring folks in. It's also your path to higher earnings, obviously, anytime there's a certification involved, and I'm sure tons of you are certified in your each individual fields as far as IT is concerned. So you might be thinking, well, why do I need one more certification? Well, it depends on the trajectory of your career path. So if you're working on IT projects but you'd like to lead one, then certification is definitely for you. If you're already leading IT projects but you don't have the certification, that's going to be the best way to move up. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about CompTIA Project Plus. I'll talk about it just a little bit as far as what the requirements are here in just a little bit. I'm going to tie it back to the PMP. Project Management Professional, the #1 non-technical certification in the world. It is considered the gold standard of project management certification. Why? Well, first of all, it's comprehensive. It is every best practice that has ever been designated around the world by project managers working on a variety of different types of projects, including IT, but they could be building Yankee Stadium. They could be running the Olympics. It could be building an apartment complex. It could be IT. So the Project Management Professional PMP certification covers every single aspect of a project. But what it also does is give you the opportunity to say, what can I use or pull from this that's going to be most effective on my project? Those are the two pretty much big project management certifications out there. Obviously, the PMP is considered the gold standard of project management, but here's why it's good for you and your wallet and your career. The PMP certification is 5th on the list of the top 15 paying certifications for 2016. Yes, Cisco's on there. VMware's on there. Lots of IT certifications, but right there in the mix is the PMP, 5th on the list. In fact, it's above Cisco certifications as far as top paying certifications for 2016. That's this year. That's a study that just came out this year. So that's why it's so great for you. But at the same time, I like to look at things as, yes, it's good for your career. Yes, it's good for management of your project. Yes, it's good for your wallet. Yes, it's good for your organization. But here's what else is going on with this certification. You have to prove that you have experience. So it's either 3,500 or 7,500 hours of experience. Let me explain what that means. If you have a bachelor's degree or higher, when you basically fill out your application, you have to document provable hours. 3,500 hours is approximately 3 years of experience. You don't have to be a project manager. You just have to work on projects. Maybe you are running an IT project and you are the project manager. All of that counts. So 3 years of experience, and that experience can go back 8 years. So somewhere in the past 8 years, go back through your history just a couple of years ago and start thinking, what types of projects have I worked on? And how can I document that? 7,500 hours of experience is if you have a high school diploma or GED, and that is 5 years. And that 5 years can still go back 8 years. Most of us work on projects somewhere along the lines. It's really described as anything that's temporary or unique. That could be working for a charity organization. It doesn't have to be your day-to-day job role, although that's probably where you spend the majority of your time and therefore where the majority of your hours would come from. You also need 35 hours of accredited project management training. What that means is that the Project Management Institute, who puts out the PMP certification exam, wants you to take a training course to understand all of the best practices, all of the tools and techniques, and so on, but they want you to take it from somebody like StormWind Studios, who's already been approved by the Project Management Institute to offer credit. Those credits are called Professional Development Units. Once you have 35 with an exam type of prep class, then you can go ahead and take the exam. Once you pass the exam, which is 200 questions, it's 4 hours, it's a bulky, difficult exam, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And as far as certification maintenance after you pass, every 3 years you have to maintain your training. Well, why do they do that? Well, the Project Management Institute feels that as we're continually growing and adapting and they're identifying new, better, best ways of doing things, that if we keep on top of our learning, we keep on top of our careers, and we keep on top of the newest cutting-edge information out there in project management. So every 3 years, you have to obtain 60 professional development units, which is essentially 60 hours. Now, you might be thinking, wow, that's a lot, 60 hours, but you get approximately 25 just for doing your job. And so then the rest you have to buffer out with other things, like taking a short seminar that's maybe 2 hours for 2 professional development units, or really looking at what the Project Management Institute calls the talent triangle. What courses can I take in leadership, like communication skills? Or how do I motivate a team of individuals? Or I work on a virtual team and I manage virtual employees, and some of them are global. Help. I need some tips and tricks on how to do that. And then also the technical skills like risk management and so on. So it's not as difficult as it sounds to maintain your certification every 3 years. But essentially that's what makes it the gold standard. And that's why if you go out just perusing job sites, not like you're going through or you're looking for another job, just more for information, 13 out of 13 advertisements for project management positions, 8 of those 13 either require or prefer a PMP certification. And this is global. So you might have noticed that all of a sudden organizations are putting out ads or job requests that are asking for PMP certification. And according to a Computer World survey, 40% of IT executives, 40%, say they plan to hire a project management professional or PMP within the next 12 months. So that should tell you in some cases organizations are looking at this as a have-to-have. And from our side, on the certification side, it's about how can I improve my career, but also every single one of us wants to be better at our jobs. We want to be able to go into work and feel like we're successful on a day-to-day basis. So we're not going to have bad days, we will. But walk in and feel like, hey, I am armed with the tools and techniques that I need to create a workaround for a risk event if I need to, and so on. So the certification proves to the organization, hey, guess what? They passed an exam. But when you get right in there and start utilizing those best practices, it proves to your organization that, hey, you know what you're doing. And that's the most important thing, I think. So with the certification, just to recap, I want to tie the PMP back to the CompTIA. Here's why CompTIA Project Plus is great for folks that have just started their IT careers. Maybe you're just out of college and you're thinking, I don't have 3 years of project management experience or 5 years of project management experience, so I guess the PMP is off the table. It's not. CompTIA Project Plus is essentially at a higher level the same best practices that you're going to be tested on for the PMP exam. So this is a really great springboard for you if you're brand new to the industry. It shows that you have a common understanding of basic project management principles, but because it's tied to IT, it's like getting an IT certification that will complement your Cisco certs, your Microsoft certs, and so on. So you don't have to have any experience. And I often recommend that people who are brand new in the IT or even project management industry go take the CompTIA Project Plus. It gets you into the framework or the mindset of an IT project manager. It helps you gain good understanding of best practices. And guess what? Once you have all of that, plus the experience, taking the PMP will be so much easier. So it's almost like a springboard to that PMP. Obviously, you have to have experience. You have to have those education credits that are accredited, professional development units. But right now, there are 650,000 plus people in the world that have their PMP certification. So it's not going away anytime soon. It's definitely going to be around. And, I feel, for me personally, with the certifications that I have and the IT projects that I've worked on and the things that I've done in my career, the best decision I ever made in certification was to get my PMP. It has absolutely springboarded my career way past what I ever thought it would be. So for me, personally, I absolutely highly recommend it. But if you don't have the experience, CompTIA Project Plus is equally as awesome as you're starting out. So how can we help you? Well, how can StormWind Studios help you? And definitely, if you get a chance to check out the website, it's super cool. It's definitely cutting edge, and I think you'll appreciate the Hollywood-style production. We use green screens and 3D animations and stuff because e-learning can be difficult. It's easy to get distracted. So what we do here with all the project management courses and all the other IT courses that we offer, we have college-style sessions. They are 2 hours long, and we record every single one of them. So you're able to go back, like let's say you have a big meeting with stakeholders or with your sponsor, your customer, and you're like, I had class today. No worries. As soon as your meeting is over, you can log right into campus and watch the live class that you would have been in a couple hours prior. So they're like TiVo. You can fast forward through the recording. But one of the things that I do, and I know all the other instructors do as well in the IT side of things, is it's not just about passing an exam for me. It's about making sure that not only do you pass your exam the first time, but it is walking out of that class with skills, with stuff that you can absolutely implement that day, templates that you can use, best practices that you can use. And so it's absolutely one of those things where I don't want you to just pass an exam and never hear from you again. I want you to be able to pass an exam and utilize it in your day-to-day. So as far as StormWind Studios, yeah, you have 12 months access, which is super cool. It's HD video, and honestly, I take a lot of pride in taking really kind of, and I hesitate to say boring, don't hang on to that word, but the Project Management Institute's Project Management Body of Knowledge is an overview. So it doesn't put a lot of context behind the best practices or how to utilize them in the real world. So what my job is to bring that content to life and apply it to what you're doing on a day-to-day basis and really say, you're working on an IT project, you had a risk event, how do you handle it? Let's talk about that. And then how do you answer a question on the exam in order to pass it? So I like those real-world gotchas that happen or pitfalls that happen in our real world and tie those together with best practices and analogies and so on. And the other thing is we offer a bundle, project management bundle, where you can have access to all of our project management classes all at one low price. But here's the good thing. After you take and pass your certification, then you can come back because you can gain your professional development units and things like leadership and technical skills. So that is definitely the spiel. StormWind Studios is awesome, but project management in general is such a booming field right now, and it's so good to have common best practices that are utilized across the globe and to try and produce the best product, service, or result within the scope, the schedule, the cost, the budget, make sure that we're producing quality stuff, because ultimately that's why we do what we do every single day. Whether it's a line of code or building Yankee Stadium, it's absolutely important that we put our best face forward and attempt to make sure that we're utilizing best practices for good. So I'm hopeful that that was informational for you, and like Emily said, we'll have some Q&A, so please feel free to ask whatever questions you have. And if you do have more questions outside of today, or you're just looking for other certifications, you're like, hey, I'd like to get a Cisco certification, please reach out to StormWind Studios, and we would be absolutely thrilled to talk to you and to help you obtain your certifications and to meet your professional goals, because really that's why I do what I do.